Hi guys, Tugo here with a new video. In this video we'll be talking about Arms Warrior in 10.1 and what you can expect going into PvP for 10.1. We're going to talk about the changes that they have made for Arms Warrior, which is actually not a lot, the tier sets, and my opinion on why I think Arms Warrior will probably not be as strong as Season 1 Dragonflight. But before we start, please do like the video. It helps me a ton with the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel if you love PvP content, or if you enjoyed this video, that would be actually very appreciated. And let's try to watch the whole video and listen to the whole video so you can actually understand what I mean with Arms Warrior going to probably lose a few tiers before at least Season 2 or like mid-season. I'm going to give you a few examples on what I think is going to make Arms Warrior a bit less popular. But first and foremost, let's talk about the few changes that we have. This is not the build that I'm going for on live, but I'm trying a few builds here and there. Mostly I do love playing with Fatality, and now that it stacks for 3 minutes, it's very hard to actually lose stacks on Fatality. But playing versus Paladins or immunities just makes Fatality go off the target, so it becomes very hard to actually restack. So it's not always as easy to play with it. There is no real changes on the trees. We have maybe a bit more prevalence to slam, but since they changed the tier sets to actually not involve slam anymore, there is no real reason to actually press slam. Even whenever you are like GCD and you have like extra GCDs, it will be better to actually use those GCDs to actually kite by spamming hamstring, or by using your mobility, or using your defensives, or like for example impending victory and such. There's no real reason to actually press slam, and even whenever you have too much rage, then you would prefer to actually press ignore pain. Although it's a 11-second CD, you will always find a spot to actually press those GCDs. So there's no real reason to go for slam. There is no real changes to the PvP talents, unfortunately. Warbringer does get nerfed. The damage will be really low, and we're going to see that on the blue post as well. There is no, again, real thing changing except the few CC changes that is affecting every single class. Disarm, for example, being now a 5-second disarm, which is, I guess, the same as on live pretty much, with the CC reduction on your boots and trinket. But overall, not a lot of exciting things for Arms Warrior. And the few things that they actually made changes were for the tier set. Before, you had a tier set which deep wounds had still the same effect on the 2 set, and the 4 set was you had a chance on crit to give you more damage on your next slam, and it would stack up and you could do some big damage slams. A bit the same approach as Fury Warrior. I made a video about Fury Warrior, which is a spec I'm actually excited now for 10.1, in contrary with Arms Warrior, where I think it's a bit of a stalemate and will probably get hit somewhat hard with the crit changes. But we have a 4 set now, which gives deep wounds critical strikes have a chance, so it is a chance, it is not even a guarantee, to give you 10%. Reminder, in PvP, every single tier set is nerfed by 50%. They blanket nerfed everything, and unfortunately, not every tier set is actually created equal. Let's be honest, I made Shaman videos, those tier sets were amazing and actually changed your playstyle. This tier set just doesn't do anything for you because there is no playstyle changes, there is no build changes, there is nothing you can build around the 4 set to be meaningful. So it is 5% stackable, so it will be 15%, and you cause also damage, physical damage to enemies in front of you, like the overpower, for example. Whenever you're doing an overpower, you will do also some damage towards Dreadnought, which is a very good thing. But for more strike, I'm a bit less excited. So the problem is, I'm going to show you, you want to stack deep wounds to get some stacks on your on your damage modifier on more strike. The problem is you are spamming more strike, so most of the time what is going to happen is you're going to have maximum 2 stacks, maybe just maybe 1 stack, sometimes 3 stacks if you're like blade storming into everything, you get deep wounds, then it's easy to stack, you know. But the problem is it is not reliable. It is just simply not reliable. And the damage, like right now, you're going to see is very high. But I'm going to remind you that overpower is still bugged on the dummy, so it only gives, like, it gives you 30%, which is already nerfed in PvP, which is not 30%. And if you're pressing 2 times overpower, it becomes 60%, so you will never do the same damage on a dummy as on a player. I feel like the tier set is dumb and boring, and it caters to PvE, unfortunately. And will make Arms Warrior a bit dull because every single class kind of gets something cool here and there. Like for example, Arcane Shot for MM gives you a chance to get like Dead Shot, I think, or I don't know how it's called, which gives you a kill shot possibility on any single target regardless of health. That is a gameplay altering tier set, which is fun, even though it's like minus 50%. It is still going to be fun to actually press Arcane Shot and get a proc of your kill shot. But with Arms Warrior, your damage, it's hard to stack something you actually press all the time. More Strike is something you press on command. It's a 5-second CD. You don't have anything to press anyways. Why would you press Slam instead of a More Strike just to get 50% more damage, which is laughable. 50% damage is nice, but let's remind ourselves that we have a crit change, which makes the damage lower whenever you crit compared to live servers, which is season 1. So it means that it will barely compensate the damage loss that we had from the crit change. So in terms, you are a nerfed version of Arms Warrior right now. Especially since in season 1 you do mostly build crit. Now you will probably build haste, maybe a bit of mastery. You see that mastery now you can really stack it very high, to be honest. Like we have 24%, and still we are like only 422 eye level. But the problem is stacking mastery feels bad because it is not that good. It's only a few percentile damage increase by spamming mastery, but the damage is actually the same if you're actually like stacking haste or stacking crit. So it is like not a kind of a dead stat, but it's a stat that it would be nice if you had a buff from your class or spec by pressing an ability. For example, the Necrolord banner, Conqueror's banner that we got in Shadowlands, that was an interesting ability that you could actually press and like get some sensible damage increase, but also some movement increase, which was very welcome. But building mastery just for building mastery is actually now just not worth it. So the tier set doesn't have that much great stats, and you still cannot choose the stats that you go for. So we have haste mastery here, we have crit haste, we have mastery crit. So we have 2 big pieces of mastery on chest and head, and we have also here haste versatility, which is quite fine. But you see the problem, right? You see that the stats are not aligning, the tier sets are not aligning, and there are a few changes here and there, which for me is going to probably doom Arms Warrior into a lower tier, which is all fine. But I think Arms Warrior is a special spec and a special class where often than not the spec that is going to be played is the better spec. It is not like a subtlety one trick that is going to play subtlety regardless of the tier, right? Well, for example, someone that is playing assassination rogue, he's going to keep on playing assassination rogue, and sometimes he's going to dip into outlaw and sub, but often than not they're going to play like assassination. But a Fury Warrior of Arms Warrior, that is based purely about the meta. If the Fury Warriors are better than Arms Warrior, you will just see a lot more of Fury Warrior, regardless of fan thing that you can have for Arms and being like a super fan to Arms. The most played spec will be Fury, because it is like how it works for Warrior. It always was like this on Classic, on Live, and also now in 10.1. Now is it bad? I don't think so. I think Warrior is still going to be very meta. because of the comps that they can play, the peel that they can actually give. But I think Fury will overtake in 10.1. At least that is my prediction, if no nerfs or buffs coming into 10.1. Now let's talk about the few things that I will discuss, which is purely the changes about I'm watching real quickly the changes about the patch, the PTR, right? I'm going to move my camera real quick. All right, let's go. So you can see I highlighted arms so we can have an easily trackable thing. Those are all the changes that we have for arms in PvE, and then you will going to see the changes in PvP. In PvE, tactic control no longer affects crowd control targets, blah blah blah, that's PvE. Ignore pain does absorb 25% additional damage, which is quite fine, but pain and gain gets a nerf of 1%. So overall, I think passive healing will be down, active healing will be up, at least shielding will be up. So there is also a fixed issue about Spear of Bashing from being cast while the warrior was silenced. And the arm switch changes are more precise. We have Stormwall now heals for 8% instead of 10%. Weird change because nobody really takes in Stormwall in PvP. I guess it's more for a PvE thing. We have here a nerf to the PvE side of things, which is then even more nerfed in PvP. So in PvP it's only 2.5%, which is laughable again. I'm going to say that. Chance to critical strike and critical strike damage reduced to 5%. Again, very laughable. Deep wounds, critical strikes have a chance to increase the damage of your next slam by 15%, and that is removed. It is not existent anymore. It is now gone. Now we have the redesign, which is deep wounds critical strikes have a chance to increase the damage of your next more strike by 10%. In PvP it is 5% and causes it to deal 38% of attack power, which is now 19% attack power physical damage to enemies in front of you, and it is also stackable 3 times. Again, very low damage and very low increase, and you will never play around your tier set. It will just be a put it on and forget about it, which is not a very exciting thing. You would think like PvE, the PvE, the Fury Warriors are like a bit like not as interesting, I would say, because there's not a lot of lines, but the force that actually changes your playstyle, and you can do some pretty neat things because of that. But whatever we're seeing about the PvP side of things, we have duel now, it's highlighted, which is good. We have slam damage increased by 48% in PvP combat, very laughable, because again, slam is not going to be used, and you can even increase it by 200% and you will still not use it, and that's how confident I am about it. Shockwave duration increased to 3 seconds in PvP combat, was 2 seconds. That might be interesting in RPGs. And also in 3v3, where you could do a big spear of bashing into a shockwave, which is a 3-second CC. While, for example, if you are watching about the CC for Stormbolt, I don't know, I'm going to write Stormbolt real quick. Stormbolt. No, there is no Stormbolt on the... Is it like this? Yes. Stormbolt will be 3 seconds as well. So your AoE will be equal to the... single target CC. So there is a world where you could play Shockwave just for the CC and not for the damage that you can do for Shockwave, and you might maybe not even take Stormbolt anymore. Depends on, like, I never really played, like, it's a 40-second CD and this is a 30-second CD. The good thing is that about Stormbolt is it is ranged, so what you could do is actually Spear of Bash in 2 targets, Shockwave and Stormbolt the healer, and then you have like a pretty good like cross CC, or your like second DPS of the party can use their CC on the healer, but there is ways to actually play around it. You might sacrifice a few points here and there, maybe 200 specialization and then something else. from watching, maybe this one, and then you can like pretty much take this, although it's useless, and then go a bit further by taking uproar away from it and go for shockwave, or you go for this. I think this is probably the most playable way to actually implement shockwave into your build. You will not have two-handed weapon specialization though, but you cannot see it on my screen. Can I try to yes, so this would be the build that you might play if you want to implement shockwave. Basically have Spear of Bastion and shockwave together, and you might do something with it. I don't know if you are going to do it or are you going to make it work. You will not play like a Ren build though, so you will have to change the whole build, but I think it would be interesting to play around it. So that's the one thing that I'm actually excited about arms too, and also Fury, by the way. Fury can also play a shockwave build, but there are ways to actually like make it work. Now, that's not the only change, right? That's not the only change I'm wanting to discuss. We have Warbringer doing 65% less damage, and the range increased to 20 yard cone. So you will break CC. You will not play Warbringer anymore. It's too risky. Again, the damage is not going to be justifiable to actually do a AoE of 20 yards. I get 4 RPGs, maybe, but even then you're going to maybe break CC, so I will not try to go for it. We have Rebound now, which is redesigned, so that's a good thing. Spell Reflection reflects the next 2 incoming spells cast on you, and reflected spells deal 50% damage to the attacker, but the cooldown is increased by 10 seconds. So do you really want to reflect the 2 next incoming spells, or... But the good thing is about that is whenever someone is glacial spiking you and he's doing an ice lance at the same time, at least they will eat both damage and not only like the ice lance damage. So there is a good thing about it, but are you going to sacrifice a PvP talent because of that? I don't think so. And those are really the biggest changes. Then you have like the changes which happened like step by step. So it didn't really change anything really. And the unlucky part about this situation is that if you're watching the tier list, I would say a tier list that is probably composed about right now and how it works is that you probably have Retribution, Demonology, Warlock in the S tier, then you have like BM and Arms Warrior also in S tier but a bit lower, and then the MM, which is really wanting to go S tier depending on the comps that they're facing. That is going to change in 10.1. There's a lot of things. For example, the demonology, we don't know how the state will be, since now you cannot have like instant dogs, or at least not like systemic. It will be only with procs if you're playing the SPEC, the talent build that you can take for it. Although it's like a proc. BM Hunter might go lower because of the crit changes, but also because of the forset being like significantly less stronger than what we had in season 1. MM Hunter, they might stay. I don't know really what they are going to plan to change for them in 10.1. Retribution Paladin might stay, but I think it really depends on what the crit changes affecting them or not. And Arms Warrior, what I think is the next in line in nerfs. If they actually nerf Arms Warrior once more, they might just end up in B tier because of the crit changes. They are like probably around A tier now, and utility wise they are still very high. That's why they can still be competitive. But I think damage wise, I tested Arms Warrior, I tested Fury Warrior. Fury Warrior is now like a lot higher for damage, just purely about damage. Of course, utility wise it is very different. Arms Warrior has Warbbanner, Duel, they have ways to actually peel their teammates. Fury Warrior is like unrelenting damage, and the damage is really high. Like right now with the forset, it is actually very high. I made a video again, you can see the rotation and what happens whenever the rotation is done on the dummy. But yeah, I think the consequences are going to be pretty big for Arms, so I'm a bit concerned. Now, am I concerned for Warriors? I don't think so, since I did say that Fury Warrior isn't on the rising up, and I don't think they will eat a nerf, and they might eat a nerf on the forset, but compensate it elsewhere, which is also a big win. And I feel like the gameplay, even from Fury Warrior, especially with the forset and how I play it, it will be fun. It will be very, very fun, and it will not be like mashing. It will be still mashing keyboard, right? You're still going to press whatever you can to actually have damage, but you will press more abilities to set up the damage, which is going to be quite fun, and it will be resembling to arms, but a bit more of a berserker style arms warrior. And arms warrior will still be the mythical spec, but I think with the crit changes, with the no changes on the PTR right now, with the CC change as well, with also the overall feel of the spec in the 4th set, I think they might be lower. They might go now in B tier or A tier. Not to be too dramatic, I don't think they will be C tier anytime soon, depending if they nerf too hard or not. But yeah, they're going to have a fall of grace, and I say that with a unbiased feel because I am a arms warrior main. I am someone that loves arms warrior in general and that plays arms warrior mostly in compared to Fury. But I may say that, again, I tested it on the PTR, 10.1, Fury Warrior and Arms, and I did enjoy Fury much more because of the 4 set, the playstyle change, and how you can actually implement that in a real life, not real life, but real arena gameplay situation. But anyways, please let me know what you think about this video. Let me know if you like those analysis of the specs in 10.1 and what you can expect from them, and the expectations on buffs or nerfs, or like everything combined. Let me know in the comment section below. Please like the video. Again, the algorithm helps me a ton, helps me do what I love on YouTube, but also just in general, subscribe to the channel if you do like PvP content. I try to always strive for making better and better content, and yeah, let's try to work our way through 10.1. Again, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Be sure to stay safe. We will catch each other very soon in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.